What watercolor brush do you need for watercolor? I've been using watercolor professionally and teaching watercolor for almost 10 years now, and I've seen plenty of beginner watercolorists get discouraged because they think they're no good. When I'd say 9 times out of 10, they're actually using either the wrong paper or the wrong brush. So what brush do you need? Let me explain. There's a huge difference between a natural hair brush and a synthetic hair. Have a look at this picture of brushes under the microscope. You see all those little funny shapes on the natural hair? They're like little reservoirs that hold water. Put 50 of those hairs together to form a brush, and that brush is going to hold a lot of water. And seeing as watercolor is a water-based medium, we need a brush that's going to hold lots of water. Sure, you can use a synthetic hair brush for details and areas where you don't need a lot of water, but really you're missing out on the whole fun side of watercolor, working wet on wet. Make sure you buy a quality brush right from the start. I've seen plenty of students come to class with brushes that say they're natural hair, but when I look at them, they're actually a synthetic hair that's been dyed to look like natural hair. Synthetic hairs will be a little bit stiffer and a little bit shinier, and they might say something like imitation sable or imitation squirrel on the handle of the brush. You don't want to use those brushes. You want to make sure that you buy quality from the start because you'll get used to a brush. You'll get used to how much water it holds, how soft it is, and how it works. So if you start off cheap and fool yourself into thinking you'll buy a better quality brush as you get better, well, by the time that you get that better brush, you're going to be so used to the previous one that you're going to think, these good brushes are no good, and you'll give up on them. So start from the start using good quality natural hair brushes. Now, when I say natural hair, there's lots of different types of natural hair. For example, this is a hog hair brush. It's stiff and the bristles are from a hog, but this is not what you want to use for watercolor. It's far too stiff. Instead, you want to use a squirrel or a sable hair brush, something that's super soft and feels like a makeup brush. These ones are great because they're round and come to a tip, so you can create a wide variety of shapes using that brush. But if you haven't got the budget for a squirrel or a sable hair brush, this one's about $150. What I've found that works just as good is these super cheap goat hair brushes. These probably cost about $2 to $6. They last fairly long. They might lose a few hairs here and there because they are a cheap brush, but really in comparison, I'm finding the difference between my squirrel or sable hairs and my goat hair, it's quite minimal. So I've been using these really cheap goat hair brushes for all my work lately. So now that you know what brush to buy and what brush not to buy, you'll want to know how to take care of your watercolor brushes, particularly if you're spending a lot of money on getting good quality new brushes. So what I'll do is I'll link below to my post about how to take the best care of your watercolor brush and also how to use the brush so that you get this nice fine tip. Even though it's soft bristled hairs, how do you stop it from doing that and keep your brush nice and pointy like that?